UNDP's Assistant Secretary General and their Asia Pacific Director. Thank you so much, Kanni, for joining us here on the program. It's difficult to see some of the images that are coming out of Myanmar. Brutal, horrific images, especially at the hands of the military junta. And it seems the international community remains silent.
I think, Yolda, this is, as you said, hugely complicated situation, and we cannot remain silent, and we must not. I think the Secretary General has spoken out very strongly. Our new Special Envoy is trying to engage all the parties. And very importantly, I think the Security Council is getting more actively involved. I think you're right that for the second half of last year, it was a quiet, burning conflict inside the country, and it's so good to see that the media and everyone's putting it back on the front burner.
Michelle Bachelet has told the BBC that this is virtually a civil war. She's compared the situation on the ground to Syria. And yet the international community, as you say, other than some statements, really hasn't put a lot of pressure on the military junta. Not just no pressure, but it doesn't seem like the junta is actually listening in any way.
You know, it's difficult to get the junta to the table, but if any authority is governing or says they are governing, then they have an obligation to protect their people, not shoot at them. And so coming to the table for talks, and as you also noted, all parties to the conflict have to find a path to peace. I think people have the right to protest peacefully, but the minute this moves, which it is now, into conflict on all ends, with all parties taking to arms, then there is less light at the end of that tunnel. So, as our Special Envoy and the ASEAN Special Envoy has said, I hope the two of them can get to the country, speak to everyone. The Tatmadaw has to be part of these talks, but so does the National Unity Government. And they've got to see how there can be a cessation of hostilities. A humanitarian pause is a necessary part of this. It's not enough. Activist diplomacy is needed now to move everyone to the table.
Tell us about the humanitarian crisis and what the UNDP is seeing on the ground, because you've been reporting that more than half the population are now below the poverty line. I mean, as ever, it's the innocent civilians, the people on the ground that are impacted by these things.
That's exactly right. You know, we had thought it would take mid-year this year when we would see over 50% of the population falling into poverty. That's the reality now. So we're not even, by mid-year, this is going to be worse. We're talking over 25 million people. The UN estimates that over 14 million people are in dire humanitarian need right now. The numbers of displaced, that's over 600,000 people. The Rohingya situation is still devastating. So getting back, and UNDP's got a whole program that's community first and community led, and that needs access, that needs funding to put people, to give them a basic decent living so they can see themselves through this crisis and come out on the other side. We've lost a generation, I would say, already.
And despite the humanitarian crisis, the crackdown by the junta continues. The scale of the killings increase. I mean, there are some associations saying that over 1,500 people have been targeted and killed. Others are saying the number is far more. The protesters, some of the protesters we've spoken to, say that the military junta should not be rewarded with talks and diplomacy.
You know, at the UN, we've always felt that this is not a reward, this is an obligation. You have to bring everyone. And I think wasn't it Desmond Tutu who said, if you really believe in true peace, you can't just talk to your friends. So you've got to bring everyone to the table. I know it's hard. And everyone has a right to feel the anger that they're feeling right now. But it's so important if you're going to get basic human development back and ease some of the absolute fragility. You know, businesses can't run. Right now, the UNDP program is trying to keep small businesses open, small farmers to continue with their farming activity, just to get through a decent, dignified living right now. But that can't be done if you're living in fear. That, to me, is a fundamental protection that the international community owes the people of Myanmar.
Kanni Wignaraja, always good to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us.